Good morning. You're watching Breakfast Television. Frankie Flowers is here, and I can't even tell you how excited I am to get into that garden. And you know, I've got like a blank canvas, and I am a gardener.
Brand new house too. 19 days away to the official arrival of spring, people. Not that anybody's counting, but spring,
we're all counting.
Yeah, March is here tomorrow, and there's so many things that we're excited about. Canada Blooms is coming up, of course, in just a few weeks. This week I'm going to be at Stratford. On Saturday, Sunday I'm at the Hamilton Home and the Ideal Show there.
You're everywhere.
Busy weekend overall. So we had some viewer questions.
We did.
Yeah.
We do, and I'm going to read one of them to you. This first question is from Bill, and it's about ice damage. Frankie, I live in Brampton, and as you know, this year's ice storm has devastated my mature trees. Brampton was really hit hard. We all know that. What do I do? What is Bill going to do?
So here's a look at some of the ice damage that we had, and a lot of the ice damage that we had was all due to not only the ice accumulation, but also some of the mature trees that have weak spots. And this is really a good idea as we get to spring to take a look at the trees that you have that are established around your property. Get an arborist in, do some proper tree maintenance, and take care of that. But with all this debris hanging around, what we first want to do is clean up the trees, give them nice, tight, clean cuts, make sure that we repair the damage on existing trees, and then with this leftover debris, something that we could possibly do in some community gardens is what's called, like Google, but it's called hugel. Hugel culture. Hugel culture is a German technique, which means to hill, to basically garden on a hill.
So it's H-U-G-E-L.
Yeah, you actually have it right there. But what you can take a look at is what you do is you take the debris, all the stems and all the wood that you have, you put it essentially into piles, and then you put soil over the top. This is going to give you more actually space to garden on. It's a raised bed. This will be great for community gardens. A little bit of people, if you're investigating this, it's becoming popular. There's a couple, and there's with a raised bed where you can actually put the wood underneath. What the wood does is it acts like a sponge as it's breaking down. So it'll absorb moisture. That means you'll use less moisture. At the same time as it's breaking down, provides nutrient for the plants above. So you're going to have great gardens. It takes about 10 to 15 years for this to happen. But I may want to give people a word of warning. This is great if you have poplars. This is great if you have maples. But if you have black walnut, I would avoid and not use black walnut because that will put juggalo into the soil and kill your plants off. But there's a look at the start of the mound right there where you're basically taking those stems and branches, putting soil over the top of them. So as an option this year, you could always go in hugel culture.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so one more question we have time for. Okay, so somebody was throwing out their roses that their husband had given them for Valentine's Day, and they discovered a new leaf growth on all 12 stems. Needless to say, she would love to try and propagate them. I have removed the dead heads and leaves and cut and wounded the stems. They are sitting in water until I can get up to Bradford Gallery for supplies. So what supplies will I need, and what method should I use? That's from Joyce.
So basically what you've done is by having the roses in water, you've stimulated them to go into a cutting mode, to actually send out roots, and this is not uncommon. What you can do is you can then stick that root, and you want to take a smaller section, one that's going to be about 2 to 3 inches, that has a little bit of a root bud coming out, and you can put it directly in soil into a pot indoors. It's going to be in a bright window. The only thing is for the roses that you saw and you enjoyed and you thought that were wonderful, probably what's going to happen is it's going to revert back to a wild rose. A wild rose would be more of a shrub type rose that's going to be big and huge and not give you the same type of rose. So for fun, you can root it, you can propagate it, but don't have the expectation it's going to give you a perfect rose.
Okay. Do we have time for one more? I hope so. Okay, so this is from Madeline, and this is about tomatoes. I'm thinking of growing tomatoes from seed. Is there anything I should know? I want to start them this week. Is this the week?
Well, you know what? Right there is an image of what happened last fall with one of our other viewers with their harvest. You know, when it comes to tomatoes, and tomatoes are the #1 most popular thing. It's a fruit that you can grow in your garden. Is it time to start them? In 2 weeks from now is when you should be starting your tomatoes indoors.
Okay, so 2 weeks.
The #1 failure for people with tomatoes starting their own is starting them too early.
Oh, there you go.
That's your #1 failure.
Well, what would happen if you
start them too early? What happens is they're going to get too long. They're not going to go outdoors. They're going to grow too quick, and they actually grow up, and then they'll just start to fall over. They'll start to rot at the stems themselves.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's all that work you put in. The other thing is, pack of tomato seeds, and I say this so often, it's a good idea to start them, but do you really need that many tomatoes? If you live in a condo, you don't need a full pack of tomatoes.
But you know what's really nice?
To give them away to your friends.
Absolutely. My neighbor grows little tiny cherry tomatoes and always knocking on the door to all the neighbors and offering tomatoes, and I love that. That's
That's because he grew too many, and he's just trying to get rid of them.
I know, but it's
Yeah,
so
but it is a
nice.
nice gesture. So there you go. Looking forward to gardening once again tomorrow. I'm in Stratford, Sunday I'm in Hamilton.
Okay, and that will be on breakfasttelevision.ca, all
Yeah,
that
we'll
for
put it up.
information. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Frankie Flowers. Into you, Kevin.